Recording? Cool. Okay, I forgot to do an intro last time, everyone. I just jumped into it because I was nervous. So, welcome everyone to the Virtual Animation Discord Saturday stream. My name is Tyler, and we're going to be going over some optimization stuff. It's a messy topic. It's a technical topic, but we're here to make it fun and show you some cool stuff along the way. So not only do you know the procedures and how to do it, but you understand why and how and what actually changes. So one of the big things I do to start out with, because you have three problems. You have memory, which is only a big deal if you've got a really big file, or if you just have like giant images, then you need to worry about that. You have draw calls, which is something I run into probably the most, and then you have triangles, which if you build smart, they're easy to manage. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin that there. So one of the things I'm always doing when I'm working with optimizing a scene, and I'm just going to demo this one just to show you what you can do, is I turn on the wireframe because you can really see all of the individual vertices you have going on. So like on the belly here, that's a vertice. That's a vertice. That's a vertice. All these are vertices going down. And I don't think this character's even been optimized a single time on the belly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through my messy little thing here. Just select that layer so he's good. So that layer currently has, oh yeah, and if you want to turn on your stroke counts and your poly counts in your layers. So you go to your document menu, your quill settings, and you're going to want to turn on stroke count in paint layers and make sure you hit save. Because I can't tell you the number of times I would leave it off and I'd go, okay, well I want to see that, and then I'd go in here
Same here.
and I'd be like, this app
Happens all
sucks,
the
so
time.
you gotta make sure you hit save. So right now we're gonna pin him too, just because it's good to. Okay. As you can see, I don't commonly pull my windows out. It's only when I optimize. So, okay. I usually set my windows up about like this because that way it lets me do the optimize tool, because everything underneath I don't care about. I don't really care about switching the render modes or this thing. I only care about hitting optimize current layer, the intensity, optimize all layers, and looking at this because there's some handy tips here to go through. But they're not a one size fits all category. These are really good though, so if you're ever having trouble with one of them, be sure you definitely look through these just to give a double check. So right now, this whole scene's about 141.2k, 24 draw calls, which is pretty big for just two characters, but I clearly have not merged anything yet, so that's nothing to worry about too much. And memory is a joke. So the only thing we need to worry about right now, say if we're actually using these characters for anything, is their poly count, because they're a little high. So what we're gonna do is keep in mind this is 19k. That's what he looks like when he has been optimized. So if I optimize current layer on his tummy, you can see there's a little bit of change. That 19k goes from there to 17.8k. And if you can see when I look in here too, he's been lathed, and that's already going to jump your poly count a lot. Which lathing isn't bad. The biggest thing with optimization is you build knowing what you're going to need to do it with. So I don't mind if this character's a little beefier because he was made to be in simpler environments. So they're going to be almost like one single color, like big flat brush strokes like the square or the cube. So if he's a little higher, that's okay. If you're going to have very complex environments, you're going to want to have a character that's a little more simple, or maybe a single stroke for a body, things like that. But you can also take it further because that's how he looks currently. And if I take that off, you can't see anything. So if I bump this all the way up, this is on the same layer. If I optimize it, you can see he becomes a little chunkier. But if I'm like back here, that's no biggie. Yeah, he looks a little blocky, but that isn't necessarily bad. And we got that down to 5k. So what was about 20k is now 5k. That's only on one part of the body. So I always like to, as well, go really low whenever I'm working on the triangle count and hit optimize all layers to see what it does. That went from 100, okay, that turned red, that's cool. Okay, new feature. That went from 127k do 66k. That cut the polys in half. And we're going to play Spot the Difference. What do you see changing? It's only that. That's the only thing we really see changing. But hardly anything changes. The eyes are noticeably changing. But worst case, if you don't like what it does to those, you just redraw them because they're a single circular stroke with a curved one. So that's not too bad. I've noticed that eyes tend to also break a lot more when you're optimizing things like this, and that's where your eyes are going to be looking. You're going to want to look at the character's eyes. So if you ever optimize something like that, just go back in really quick, because right now he's a lot lighter. We're going to select one of the eyes. Put the eye back. Bandit. And now we
So
got
one thing I do for this type of stuff, because like if you use the line brush or something for the eye, you know, like what you just did, but if you use like for example this cylindrical one, it can sometimes really break, you know, like the sphere. If you use the sphere one, you know, for the eyeball and stuff like that, and then if you optimize it, it can become like a little line or something like that. So if you have like very important features in the face that you do not want to be altered by the optimization tool, what you can do, and maybe you're gonna cover it anyway, Tyler, but you can just lock the layer with a lock button, and then then you can still say optimize all, but it will keep the locked layer isolated.
Yeah.
So that way you can make sure that some things don't get optimized if you don't want them to get optimized, because sometimes it's hard to keep track, right? Like you optimize something at the maximum level, and then you go to a different scene and you're like, oh, it's broken, but then you know you don't have any undo steps anymore because you did it like long time ago. So just be careful if you want to go full optimization. Just make sure to check everything, and certain things you can optimize at different levels. For example, what I usually do is like I lock one layer, optimize everything at once, and then I go to the specific layer and optimize it a little bit. You know, that those are things that you can do.
And I'm going to show that just in action really quick. We're going to do two faces. One's going to be happy, one's going to be sad. We're going to take the sad one and put him in his own layer because he's about to get optimized. And we're going to lock this one. So let's say you've also got some other things in this other layer. You've got like, you know, some other strokes. Let's do a bear. That's not a bear.
Frog.
That's a frog mouse. Who knows?
Frog.
Actually, is a frog. You know what? Cool. You've got all these different strokes, and you know this is like your whole environment you got going on. And I'll actually pull open some other files I have, and we can optimize stuff live in real time, and we can go through the process together. But you've got all these different things. So let's say we have this guy locked. If you go to, like Gora was saying, and you go to optimizing, you can optimize all layers, and we're going to put it up to the max. If I hit that and not miss it, you'll see that everything changes except this guy. So if this was like a really important part you did not want to get broken by optimization, then that's what you do. You'd lock the layer, make sure it can't be edited, and it will acknowledge the fact that a layer is locked, so it won't affect it. So also just to show you how.
Yeah, if we can show on the smiley face, if you can show that, then you can just go to that layer and just optimize it a little bit.
You could go in here and actually let me go ahead and put everything back where it was. Optimize it all, and you can even see how much it changes, just to show how much you can do. And you don't even have to do it that far. You could do it a little bit, and it keeps its shape, and it removes so much extra triangles. So we're going to go back to the where, and we're going to unlock our smiley face, go in with just a little bit that we had, and optimize current layer, and turn off our that. And it changes, but it's hardly noticeable. So then you've got all this stuff that's super optimized and just that. So those are some basic things to look for with triangles and whatnot. The optimizations tool is your friend for this kind of thing, but you want to also build with optimization in mind. Coming back later is much harder to fix because at that point you're probably going to have to be redoing a lot of your things, which is not my favorite thing to do when it comes to optimization. It's really messy. It's really gross. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show a technique that Nick touched on a little bit last week with reducing draw calls. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick particle effect where we're going to make like a laser beam. So we're going to make the background gray so we can see this. So we're going to take like a white blast. This is going to be like a laser. So we're going to give him some loopage. Get the nudge tool. Get some wiggle on him. So it's like this crazy looking laser beam or whatever. Sure.
Kylo Ren scene on the new Star Wars when he holds the laser beam in the space.
Yeah. Just like that. Okay. So then say we want like these like little balls or particles coming off of it. So, and we've got this really complex scene. So we're going to take one ball, not a little tic tac. We're going to put that there. And we're going to zoom in. And we're going to put a transform key. We're going to move it out to here. Have it go here, and we're going to have it shrink. So it's going to look like nothing because I stepped it. So we're going to do eat out. There we go. And right when it goes to here, we're going to have it cut because that's when we're done with it. We're going to cut a little earlier. There we go. And then we want that to loop. So we're going to put a sequence, put him in the sequence, and we're going to put it there. So now we're going to have a single particle going pew, pew. But that looks dumb, and we want like 20 more of these, right? So we're going to take this guy, put him back. I'm going to shut the pivot on him because this is disgusting. Welcome to Particles, boys. Yari Part 2.
Yeah.
Okay, then we're going to duplicate that again because we want 20 of these, right? And we're going to make this one smaller. Duplicate it again. We're going to offset these guys some because they can't all be in the same spot. That would be weird looking. Okay. Let's just see how this looks. We still need more. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these guys, put them in our group, duplicate the whole group, and reset our pivot, and rotate it upside down. But that's still on time, so we need to scooch it back. And then we need like little bits coming off of it, don't we? Because this is a laser, this isn't just some vibrating noodle, so we're gonna give ourselves some empty frames to work with, loop it. And go.
Isn't it funny that like Quill really makes you like, or creation and VR in general makes you want to make those sounds?
Sound effects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like I haven't done that for so long, and then like for some reason when I paint in Quill, it makes me want to do that again.
I'm making sound effects for myself. I'm muted, but you know.
You want to know? You want to know another thing about VR animation is that it makes you a better animator. If you were already an animator, once you start doing animation in VR, it improves your approach to animation because of how intuitive it is.
You have more tools for you to use your skill set, right? So you can like puppeteer, you can anim brush, you can frame by frame, you can transform keys. So it's like more nice, Tyler.
And you end up being resentful to everything else because it's not as good.
We're gonna leave that there, so we're just gonna have this front part wiggle. Why not?
Kind of like an arrow.
And we're gonna have it hitting a wall or something really quick, just so it'll be this really crummy looking laser. But you get the point. There's a lot of particles, and What's our draw call at? 5x. Why is it at 5? It should be more like 50 million because there's like 20 of these.
I think you have to be on a frame where everything is visible.
Right, because they're all different. Okay, well, we need more of these then. We need to make this an issue. Come on. We're here to solve problems that are there, not have problems.
So yeah, important to note is that draw calls are dynamic, so they measure what's in the actual moment in that frame, versus memory is static. So memory counts everything that's in the scene at all times, versus draw calls is whatever is in the scene in that moment, regardless of when you turn your head. It's more like what is visible in that frame, and that same goes for triangles. So if you have triangles are also per frame, and also the total amount. Actually, triangles show both, but yeah, draw calls is good to know that it's per frame.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting the draw call count high?
That's what I'm trying to do. Here we got the cannon now. There we go. Okay, so the draw call count, we're now at 20 at its peak for one little dinky laser. But say you've got like a character from before with their own amount of draw calls, and you got your whole environment. Maybe there's a lot of moving parts. So having 20 draw calls on this one really crummy laser that's going to be in the background that no one cares about, that's a lot. And look at how messy this is. This is disgusting. You can bring this all to like a single layer. And you're like, but how, Tyler? It's all, the spans are all gross, and it's really gross. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Well, to tell you the truth, I don't either, because I did a lot of duplicating. I didn't really keep track. So step 1, build for optimization, name your layers. That's a good idea. What we're going to do is we're going to bake all these down, and we're going to merge them into one layer. So what we do is, he starts here. And I remember I wrote a script to do this. Like I was going to do a tutorial video on it, so forgive me if I'm fumbling through this a little because it's been a hot minute since I did this. We're doing it live. So what we do is we are going to take our first one that I always like doing, the one that's the first to the left. So the first one that happens sequentially, we're going to bake it. And what we see is whenever it hits here, you'll see that it's this guy here. He's going to stay in place. So what we need to do there, please, okay. Get rid of all these frames afterwards. And then why is it putting it there? All right. We're going to add back empty frames until we get it to here.
And important is you're not holding a frame, right? You're adding.
Yeah, you want to add empty keyframes, because if you hold it, it does not work. Because this is also how I learned that you can merge, there's a weird finesse to merging frame by frame animation.
Yeah.
So with this guy, it's the exact same thing where he's set up, but he's up a layer. And he's different, he starts at different times. So I can't merge this down. If I would go to bake this right now, it's the exact same thing where I got to go up here, I got to delete all the way down to where the loop's supposed to end. And then I add frame, and then add them back, using that as a marker. Okay, so that's there. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm good, right? I'm going to merge this together, right? Where's the merge button? It's in here somewhere. Oh, no, I don't have it in the right spot. There we go. Merge, right? Wrong. It doesn't work because the spans break it. What it thinks it's trying to do is it thinks, oh, okay, merge that with there, move the span back, and then merge it down. So they take place at the exact same time, but we don't want that. So what we want to do, and I usually put a range spot thing there to keep a mark where I want it to do. Or if you've got your old layer there, you can make a note of that. You have to go to shift it all the way to the beginning of your firstmost one, where it occurs first in the timeline. You duplicate the first frame, you add a keyframe, and then you delete the original duplicate. Because if you don't, if you try to add one immediately, it adds one after your first one. So you have to duplicate it so you have two of the same one. So you're keeping your first frame is really going to be there. You add your keyframe and you delete the original. So it starts out not being there. And then you continue to add empty keys till you get it where you want it. And then you remove your range. think I mistimed that there, but that's, oh, I added an extra frame there. And then there's that. So these are set up right. Set up at the time, I think. No, wait, where does the original guy loop? Because usually when they loop at a certain time, that can get messy too. So to figure out where you'd want to ultimately loop this guy, you want to go to the far end. So I think we want him, or you just make compromises and make it work because it's a particle system. No one's going to notice. Never actually had to solve one of these problems before, where we have individual little parts looping at different times, but they're all in the same shindig, but that's fine. We can still merge it. So we're going to make it loop out to here. This will be our ultimate loop point where everything loops back around. So we're going to make a range there, push it back, push that back. Cool. Oh wait, I added frames. Don't do that. Don't do what I just did. I made a delay. That's bad. Don't do that. Take my advice. You don't want to do that because then it'll mess up everything. Another important note is optimization is tedious work. It's a lot of little micromanaging things like that. But now when we merge it down, they're on the same layer. And you can see it leaves that one frame between. So now if I hide everything else in this disgusting mess of a particle system. Where are they at? Where'd they go? Oh, I think it's in the group that's hidden. Right. There you go. See them? When they loop again. And that's only one single draw call. If I analyze that now, we have diminished a ton.
And I think what you also can show now with this layer, you can just duplicate the crap out of this layer.
Yeah,
right?
you can duplicate this like crazy.
And the way I usually do that, like instead of like moving the span out, what I usually do is I trim it from the left and then move it back.
Right.
Like that layer, like if you trim it from the left, yeah.
Like that?
Some random and then push it back. And
like oh, you mean like that? Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
And do the next for the other one as well.
Yeah.
For that, and if you merge now make sure that the original length frame, the length layer is on top, so the bottom one goes on top, and now merge it down twice.
Oh, that works too. I did not know that.
So that way, like what I do is like similar to what you just did, but before I create duplicates with the transform keyframes, I just make sure that it's already baked. Because before I start like duplicating the crap out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
do
it
see.
like this, and then make sure the longest one. It's not necessary. Like I just like to keep the longest one on top because that prevents it from trimming. If you do it the other way around, like yeah, you can show it. If you merge it down now, what happened? But
with the small one doing it?
Yeah, exactly. Then it usually takes the small one as the reference, and then if you move now the whole span out and you trim it from the left again, but move it out, and then yeah, see. So basically, the information is still there, but it will basically trim it. That's why I tend to like just merge from the longest down. That way, like I know exactly where the loop begins. I think this is like a really good way. It's basically what you did, just the step of like baking happens before, because then you don't have to like bake.
You don't have to do
multiple times. Yeah.
This is not a problem. That's why it's you build it smart. If you know what you're doing, if you know how you want your particles to go first, this will save you so much pain, because you don't have to go back and go, okay, like whenever I first solved this problem, what I had to do is I went, okay, well, we have all these little particles, like say I'm getting rid of this guy, and we've got all these, and I'm like, so we have all these particles, and I want these to be there, but how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to be a masochist, and I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to move it down, and I'm going to sit here and hold the up on my analog stick for like 20 minutes to fill up the range of the entirety of what I want. So then I go to the beginning and I go, okay, who starts first? You do? Okay, let's go to you. All right. And then we paste. Next frame. Where'd he go? He's gone now. He went home. I don't know why he's not there anymore. Did he go under? Oh no, that was his last frame. Okay, that was really weird. I don't know why that was. That's so weird. Whatever. Yeah, you get the point. I literally went and copied every single one of these into one layer.
Wow.
Every
Hoping
frame,
that time we've all
every
been there.
piece. Yeah, it was a brutal one. And then at the very end, I went, wait a minute, I can do this merge thing. That's totally genius. Why didn't I do this for the past 3 days? That's cool. But yeah, if you're gonna have a complicated system like that, it's better to bake out a single one and then rotate it and figure out where you want to position it, like we had. So I mean, this guy, where'd he go? Name your layers, folks. I think I deleted him. But yeah, if I hope that does make sense, where you want to try to bake it, and if you bake your particle system, you have to make it line up with the span to merge it first, and you have to use empty keyframes individually, not holds, empty keyframes. Then you can merge it down, and then you get them all to one layer. And then when you're finally done, you'll have like all of it in one layer, and you're good to go. It's really good to use with things that all are all like the same brush type. So this individual guy here is a sphere brush. So is this. So are these. So you could bring all of those extra particles and this laser into one layer, and it should be
One
good to go.
question.
One drawable.
If there are different brush stroke types, and you can still merge them into
Yeah.
the same layer, but it'll be different
draw
draw calls,
Yeah,
right?
it'll just be two
Okay.
draw calls. A draw call for every
Yeah,
single brush. So if I brought all of this into, like, say I brought this cannon guy in here, all into one
Yep.
layer, it's just two draw calls because of him.
Yeah. So it's just not worth merging them. You might as well keep them in different layers if they're different brush types.
Yeah, like if you've got, say, for instance, we're gonna scooch over here. Say we've got that exact same setup where we've got like this cannon dude, and we've got, I don't know why I did that. You got all this like laser guy, and you've got like oh, it's like energy and lightning and stuff, and it's this crazy blast, and kind of looks like a lightsaber. That's
Cool.
It's the Raiden lightning gun.
So you're like, oh, okay, wait, they're on the same layer anyway. What layer am I on? We're just gonna start a new scene because I'm making a mess. Don't worry, I'll get into a little bit cleaner of a scene here in a second where I'm gonna, to commemorate Inktober's prompts being released, we're gonna go look through all of my old scenes that are gonna be horribly unoptimized and disgusting because they weren't built for VR. Won't that be fun, everyone?
You had 30 minutes.
Gotcha. Cool. So we're gonna do this again where we have, like, you know, our little. The number of times I do this, it's just horrible when it's live. So we've got, you know, these are sphere brushes. That's a cylinder brush. So we're gonna take him, put him on his own layer. So each one right now we're sitting at two draw calls. We've got one layer that's our little laser stick and one that is our handle thing. If we merge it, it's one draw call for some reason.
It should be two. Oh, I mean the cylinder brush and yeah. So I think the cylinder brush and the sphere brush is the same. Can you use the flat brush or something?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Welcome to the wonderful world of this, everyone. I am learning today.
So
Okay.
now it's two.
Now
and
it's
when you
two.
merge this, it stays two.
Cool. So does that also account for the rounded ribbon, or is that also its own?
And just what you can try, delete all strokes and keep the optimization panel open, because I'm not sure which ones are the same. But what you can do is that you paint a stroke
Just
with
try
each
it.
brush, and then you will see when the draw call count goes up. So if you
come on, I don't do this very often. It's a feature I need to use more. Like I remember Cyro showing off. They're like, "This is our layer setup," and I'm like, "Bro, just use it in your hand." Like that's what I do. I can't do this. It's so
I do that too.
awkward
so
for
now
me. Okay.
when you start drawing,
So
you see the count going up. So
that's
you have
one.
right?
What? These two are okay.
Whoa.
I am learning today, boys and girls. Okay. So cube.
Inigo is so smart.
Now it's two, right?
Cube is okay.
Don't delete the other ones.
I was gonna
Just
see what the
delete
cube is because these are the same. but the cube is not.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you now use keep the cube.
Keep the cube again? Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
and
do the
then now
ellipse.
add and see if it goes up.
Okay, ellipse is its own. Cylinder we know is the same with the
Yeah,
sphere.
so if you use the cap one, it goes up because you don't have it yet. But if you use the cylinder brush now, it should be.
Okay, the rounded ribbon is something else. It is. I think it's the same as.
Yeah.
This guy. So let me delete these just to see. No, wait a minute. These are the same. Hang on. This is fun. This is fun. I want to know what is the same as this guy.
Like a math problem.
Nope. Nope. Okay. I already knew that. I did this already. Hang on. It was this guy that was different, though. I think. Or did I mess that up? No, I think it's just... Okay, so that's a really cool thing. The capped cylinder and the cylinder brush count as the same draw call. You can use these as much as you want in the same layer, and it's only one draw call. The same applies for the ribbon and the rounded ribbon. They are also the same draw call. So you're using 4 brush strokes,
I see.
but they're only 2 draw calls each. Like, this is one draw call, this is one draw call.
I mean, the only difference between them is just the rounded end, right? Okay.
But still, if you're using, because like I remember in my precision little thing, whenever I was working on a table, you can make a table with this. You've got rounded corners or square corners. You know, you've got like a little frame or something here. Or you can use this guy and do rounded ones.
Could do that on the same layer.
Yeah, you can do this on the same layer now, and that's the same. That's one draw call.
So, but to answer your question, Mike. So Tyler, when you select the rounded corner one that you created, and put that on a new layer, the draw call count should go up 1.
It should.
By 1.
Yeah, because now we're at 3.
In that case, so you want to merge these, even if it's the same brush, Mike. You have now 2 layers. So Quill is asking for the information of layer 1 and layer 2. So it becomes 2 draw calls. So even if it's the same brush,
even if you use the same brush in your entire scene, but you have it on hundreds of different layers, it's going to be hundreds of draw calls.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if I now we're at 22 draw calls because there's 22 of these guys all in the same spot. That's amazing. I did not know that these guys were the same. Okay, so another thing, if you're wanting to optimize your draw calls, use as few brushes as you can. It's a commonly preached thing. And now we know that you can use these 4 brushes and it only counts as 2 draw calls if they're all on the same layer. Like these guys, you can keep on the same layer and it's perfectly good. So.
And just to elaborate a little bit on draw calls, what these are is like whenever Quill is asking for the information that is in a layer or in a stroke, and within Quill on PCVR, it's not a problem at all. But those draw calls slow down performance when you go into mobile territory, right? Mm-hmm. Because mobile limitations are like extreme. So the more like in this case, Quill Theater has to ask for information, the slower it will get, right? So if you have like 200 layers, then it's gonna choke and you're not gonna hit frame rate anymore. You know, so that's why it's called draw call, because it calls basically for information.
Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong here too on this. Doesn't every single instance of an audio clip and an image also count as a draw call?
An image does, audio is not.
Yeah,
audio
images.
Doesn't.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's good to know. So yeah, images too. And this is gonna kind of segue a little bit into memory because memory is really hard to tackle. It shouldn't be a thing you encounter a lot unless you're Cyro, when your entire file is like a billion, like just everything. It's so big. Because I can show a little bit of that in effect, but images are tricky to deal with because they, depending on how high you make your resolution, they could take your, actually I could show you the impact of it really quick in one of my old files. Where'd it go?
While you look for it, I can elaborate on that, because even if you use a JPEG, it gets internally computed as a PNG, so it doesn't matter if the JPEG is like 2 megabytes, but if the JPEG is 8K, then your file is gonna balloon up, and it's not gonna be good for mobile either. So make sure that the images stay below like about 1,000 pixels wide, unless you need more detail. And I think what's his name? Garrett Thomas is not here today, but when he did the Lungs and Limbs music video, he had, I think, like 8K planet images, tons of them in his file, and that totally ballooned up his file, and also was not mobile compatible. So he brought them down to like 1K, and then it works.
So just to show, this was my original work from home piece way back in the day I was working on. You can see that my animation is I have it nowhere near complete, but we're at the memory peak already. And my polys are awful, but we're worried about memory right now. And like, this thing isn't too big. The most it does is it has these guys who are still very lightly keyframed in at some points, just kind of sailing around on a boat. And it's not even that extreme. And you're like, well, why is it so high? It's because these images. It's because this guy, honestly, in particular, these reference guys I use everywhere, because this was back when I just found them on the internet and saved them. But this is my reference folder. If I delete it, because right now we are at, now we're doing this to show you, and we're doing this again, everyone. So here we go. If I delete my reference folder, look how much space that just saved up. And that's just from some little reference images here and there, everywhere. It saves so much memory by just getting rid of it. Like,
So it's like,
Did draw calls change too?
they do a little
it's
bit,
like
but
PNGs.
it's only because they're active. If I hide them,
Oh, I see. Okay.
they aren't there anymore. But if I show them, it's because they're there.
So that's
Is it
why
big-
it's important to know that memories overall, draw call is per frame. So you can just hide them. So you can have hidden layers all you want, but for memory you can't have them hidden. So
yeah,
if
if
Tyler had in the final file, it would still count as memory. You know, even if it's
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're really like
But let me-
crunching for memory at the very end, you want to delete those extra reference layers you have. Like, if you want to keep them, save them to their own little extra Quill file, because you can import them later. But if you're really pinching for memory at the last little like leg of your race, get rid of invisible layers. They don't need to be there. They're not going to be seen. Just get rid of them.
Yeah, to
One
have,
question,
right,
Tyler.
What's up?
Sorry, go ahead.
To piggyback on that a little bit, because a lot of artists, they keep like an untouched model hidden that you can always bring back in and stuff, and you want to clean that up before you share it. Like, if that's like a low poly count, it's not a big problem, but make sure that before you share, anything you don't need is out of the file, because all of that gets saved into the upload file eventually, so make sure that before you upload anything, reference files and stuff that you just hidden, just delete them beforehand, and then you can upload.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I've got-
Tyler, one question.
Yeah, go for
Those references,
Mhm.
the references that you put in, they're occupying a lot of space because they're what, like 8K or 4K or?
Oh, they're just
Why are
images.
they-
These specifically, I think they're honestly like, they're really
PNGs?
big. The references are really big. I think they are PNGs, but
Okay.
it's really just your images in general can make up a big difference, and especially
And they
if
were
you.
like super high res, right?
Yeah, these
Like,
guys are really high res for no reason. I just saved them. Look at that handsome fella. So it's been a while. So these guys are just guys I whipped up in Illustrator and I turned them into Quill files. If say you've got like a picture frame with these characters, I could leave these images in here as that and call it a day, but that uses up quite a bit of memory. Let me see if I can find. I think it's these guys. So let's look. 1.4 gigs. So these are almost 100 megabytes by themselves. Because they're kind of this colorful, like loose, style, you can come in and recreate them in Quill. Like, I'm gonna do it just my normal way, where I make everything really wacky and colorful. And we're gonna blow this up. We're gonna.
Yeah, because my confusion was like, how big are those images? Like, they're taking all that space.
Yeah,
but yeah, I can see what you mean.
It's these reference guys that are doing most of the space because they're just unnecessarily huge. You might not get as big of a jump as I'm doing when you're getting rid of images.
Yeah,
but it's still significant. Like, if this is when you're really in crunch time. So you can also like take like recreate these things in Quill if you can. Like if you're using like a what are they? If you're using like an actual like rastery image, then that's a little harder to do. But if you're doing
if
like
you have like a lot of like texture and like dirt and stuff like that, then you don't want to recreate that.
yeah, that'll be really hard to do.
This
But if,
actually looks like you created in Quill. Right? It just looks like
yeah, and
straight line brush.
it's just coming back to build for optimization. Like think about it. Don't let it rule you. Don't let it like decide your like entire thing. But it's so important to think about it when you're building your scene. Because coming back in later and doing a patch job is not fun. It's doable, but it isn't fun. And see, I mean, this guy.
Also, Javier, to elaborate on what you asked, even if it doesn't matter if it's JPEG or PNG. So the real size that will affect the memory is if you go to Photoshop and save your JPEG as an lossless PNG. That's how Quill will treat it. So even if you bring in a JPEG to super low quality, it gets boiled down into like a lossless PNG. So you know that way, like it's better to save the file as a PNG because then you know exactly how much your scene memory will blow up. So if you save a PNG and it's like 5 megabytes, your scene will become 5 megabytes larger, right? So that's probably like the rule that you can follow. If you save a JPEG, you can't really estimate how big it will be. But if you save like a 10K image and it's like 100 megabytes PNG, then your file will get 100 megabytes larger.
Yeah, no, cheers for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're just about to wrap his little teeth him up. There we go.
And you see also that Tyler is using the line tool. The line brush is like really perfect to optimize, while when you paint with a regular brush, it creates a lot more redundant geometry. And so just be mindful of that.
Especially when something's flat like this. Like this would be something like a painting, like on the wall or something. So just take it and, you know, abuse the ability to make it flat. I could probably go into my Chunky Cat Bakery piece and just cry at how horribly I made my little bread loaves in that scene, because I mean I could show you what they are. They're so bad, and then everyone will laugh at me, and then I'll be laughed at for the rest of my career because they'll see the horrible way I built these things. They're just so bad. Like I built them where the little individual flecks and specks of all the specks and flakes of all the bread are like this thing, and they're just bad. Okay, so if I remove this now, I have the exact same image.
Show us, Tyler. Show us.
Okay. But like I have the same image here.
This guy first.
I'll optimize him. Yeah, I can do that. So if I turn on the wireframe, you can see there's a lot of geometry put in him. But if I do it really carefully, okay. If I put it on the right layer and do it very carefully, you can see how much just got freed up.
Yeah.
There's no.
No, this is way smaller than the PNG.
Yeah, it's gonna save you so much memory, and you've got the exact same thing. And even if there's like little discrepancies, like the chin's not perfect. No one's gonna see the original, except you. So, big brain.
Okay. It's very efficient, Tyler.
Yeah, it really is just thinking about it. It's doing it beforehand. Let's go to Chunky Cat original. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the bakery. I've showed this guy off a couple times. So these breads look great. They're beautiful. They're lovely. I want to eat all of them. Let's take a look inside this thing. So it's all one stroke. These were all made with one stroke, being really jaggedy. I've tried really hard to figure out whether it's better to come in with a single stroke and go like whee all around to get those little bits, or if it's better to take one stroke and go like here, 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 here. And the answer is there isn't one. I think it's a case by case basis. Goro, you might have a better insight because I think you're a little more knowledgeable of the technical stuff on that.
I think the only difference is when you do the one-stroke one, you might cause like unnecessary overlaps. So that is one thing that is easy to forget is the overdraws, which is not in the optimization panel because it's hard to diagnose. So overdraws is, I covered in my optimization tutorial that you guys can check in the tutorial section in this Discord, but overdraws is when you have a lot of overlapping strokes. So regardless if your memory is low, if your draw call count is low, your poly count is low, if you have shitload of overdraws, you can still bring down mobile performance. So if you like, for example, Tyler, if you can just quickly go outside of the bakery and just draw like a duplicated bunch of graphs.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be like, but optimize the first brush stroke to a maximum, so it's like very, very optimized, but then duplicate the crap out of it after you optimized it, right? So
I want to make it pretty. We're an
Yeah.
art channel, man. Come on.
So basically, okay, I'm just gonna keep talking, but basically, if you have like a grass bit like this, and even if you optimize it just like Tyler does right now, but then when you duplicate it and then duplicate it a few times, and now you select the whole thing, duplicate it even more, and now you have a lot of overlaps. And right now, this is still probably totally fine, still fine, but when Tyler gets crazy and starts creating this grass field, then it's game over, right? So the thing is, like, if you look at the poly count right now, Tyler, it's still
It's going to be
like
really
on that
high.
layer. On that layer, I mean, on that.
Oh, on that layer, right? 35K.
So that's nothing, right? But you have a lot of overlaps. So overlapping stuff is kryptonite for mobile because basically it has to be rendered on top of each other. So you can safely say that this is now getting into an area where it's not going to perform on mobile anymore, although the poly count is really low, right?
Yeah.
So that is something to keep in mind. Overdraws is very tricky, and it also depends on where you look from. For the grass, it doesn't matter from which angle. It's going to be bad from all angles. But for the Chunky Cat Bakery, for example, like Tyler might have, like, when you stay outside of the store, like if you go outside of the store and look into the store, like this will be a lot of overdraws because you have you see everything, right? But then if you go inside and behind the counter, for example, and look towards the door, then you have less overdraws because there's almost like no overlapping strokes. So that is like another thing to be aware of. If you ever share something to Media Studio and then you're like, why is my scene still like choking? Although I stayed within the boundaries, most likely you have either tons of transparencies, which is also like kryptonite, or you have a lot of overdraws.
Mhm.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think PT Marks, I think some of your scenes, I noticed that on mobile they choke a little bit, and it's probably because of your overdraws, because I think you stay within the boundaries, but because I see a lot of strokes sometimes that overlap, and that might be caused by that, just so you know where that
Okay.
comes from.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to try to wrap up the last 10 minutes by doing a speed optimize of something from last year's
So
Inktober.
for the chocolate that you made, would the best way to do that, instead of doing it within the stroke, having it slightly above the geometry?
No, overlaps is when they not overlap within the geometry, when they overlap in the view space, in the frustum, right? So
yeah, it's like,
so regardless what you do, it's going to overlap.
I
So
see.
the way to do it in this case, it might be good for Tyler to do the grains only where you see them,
yeah, like
and on
back
the back
here.
side you remove them. Yeah.
Yeah, like get rid of it completely. I think I actually don't have them in the backpack, but yeah, like this guy in here doesn't need to be there. He could maybe have some stuff like there's
Exactly.
way kinds of different things I could do it. Like I think there's on the inside of oh boy, hi, what's up? Okay, yeah, you know what? We're not gonna do that. Like this guy here has grains on the inside on this side. They could be gotten rid of. There's yeah, they could be
And you've been pretty like economical still, like in one stroke, and you optimize it to a maximum. So I don't think this is like critical, but it's good to be mindful about it. If you have like, let's say 100 loaves,
yeah.
then you might want to do the ones in the back without grains and the ones in the front only with grains. So
I mean, you could even, depending on where you put your spawn areas, if you do a low enough res image, like if you're only going to be sitting here, you might get away with turning this into an image. Maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. Like for example, that shelf, he could take a picture, snapshot, and just crop it in Photoshop, bring it back in, and just slap it on to the shelf.
Yep.
You know, then you actually reduce cost for sure.
Yeah. Because there are advantages to using images, especially if it's something far away and blurry. Like these doilies are images, and I don't think they're that high res either. I think they're pretty. They're kind of high res, especially if it's gonna be that high. Yeah, never mind. Don't listen to me. I'm wrong. These are high res, which
But
you can
it's
use
still
them.
better than strokes, right?
You
Like,
can use them in cases like this where it's not going to be this massive.
That's a good choice. I
Because
think it's worth using the image there for that.
I'm a masochist. I like to make everything in Quill. I saw these. I'm like, you know what? Just put that in there, and we're gonna leave it.
So wait, those doilies were made in Quill and captured, or
no? These were just images online. Like I went online, typed in doily PNG, and then Getty was like, "Here you go, buy the clip art." And I went, "Thanks. I'm gonna put this in Illustrator and image trace it. Bye." And then just there it is. Yeah. So real quick, we're gonna pick one random thing from my Linktober last year. We got.
guys, Inktober is coming up, by
Yeah.
the way.
It's coming up. I'm starting on it early because I got some cool plans for stuff. But oh god, I'm falling behind already. It hasn't even started. Okay.
Wait, how can you start early?
They have
without
the prompt out already for people.
Oh,
who,
really?
Yeah, you can go look at it right now and do something.
Oh.
Go do it. I'll link it.
I like it.
So who does the Inktober? Is that Jake Parker?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
We're gonna do.
Sorry.
He made it a movement.
Okay.
Oh god, I don't know which one to do.
It's really it's actually really rewarding to do it. I encourage you guys to do it. It's a good way to figure out and learn about new tools and new methods and stuff like that. And then also it puts you into a routine, which is like it's really hard to stick to a routine, but like 1 month is something that most people can endure. So I would highly recommend to jump on that Inktober train and create.
Someone's being in Skyrim too long.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was the snow prompt for last year, and this was back before Oculus Theater was a thing. So I went, let's just do whatever I want to do to record a video, and this is called a really good panel. So one thing that I already know how to fix that I've learned from is when I play it, I'm slowly moving because I forgot I put a thing in here for the trailer. Oh no, the whole thing is moving. Okay, because I didn't know.
You animated the scene?
Yeah, I didn't do the spawn area. I was like, why is the whole thing moving? I don't have this thing enabled. So the snow is in each individual stroke coming down animated. Goro showed us the really cool method of doing the thing where you have like a bunch of snow strokes already made and then you transform key it. That'll put it all on one layer, which I think these
it usually works better on like rain and stuff. In snow, you might see it flicker. You can do it in a snowstorm. Like what you have right now, it probably won't work as nicely, so I would just merge it instead.
There's some ways to do it too, or you could go through with the method I was showing where you bake everything, because I think each individual thing here, look at me, old habits die hard, don't they? This is all the snow.
Key like mashing.
Oh yeah, like that's all the snow. If I hide that, my draw calls are in half now. So particle systems can really absorb draw calls like that.
It's still deep red though.
It's still deep red. Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't think I really broke a whole lot down. Like, let me look at the fog I've got. Yeah, like that could probably be merged. What if I hit it with a very light optimized brush? Yeah, so there's some changes, but most of it's organic, so you don't really see it. And my geometry gets split in half from that. Which is, I mean, yeah, 5.7 million is probably not going to get cut down without recreating it. I'm going to be completely real with you. Which, you know, at that point, you're like, okay, you're probably going to have to recreate some stuff. The snow is probably going to have to get redone, because that was made with like 8 layers of me taking a single color and going like, wee, and then I take a new one and go, I take a new one and go, wee, and then I take another one and go, wee, and this was all over the place. Like every single place got some of that. So you've got about like 8 ground layers all built up, which don't need to be like that.
Yeah, it's very easy to, duplicate things around in Quill. So, and it doesn't matter as long as your output is, your intent is to use it for 2D or, but if you want to share to VR, it's really important to think about those things. And before you start duplicating, I usually make sure that the asset is already ready to go, because sometimes it's difficult to go back in to save stuff.
Yeah.
So it's good to have like one asset. For example, you have one staircase, right? And then before you duplicate, it's already optimized and designed in a way that you want, and then you start duplicating it. Because after the fact, if Tyler would want to fix this, it's like a nightmare, right? Because
I would have to
better to
restart
redo
this.
it.
This would have to be redone. Like, there's no way. I truly don't think I could squeeze this into one file, because it's just built that way.
It might be a good exercise for people here, if you guys have older Quill work that you have, just to figure out how can I recreate it without sacrificing design, and optimize it with like, how can I recreate it with a line brush? How can I make sure that invisible strokes or like strokes that are hidden are removed and stuff like that. It's a good exercise to do, just to get used to it, because one thing you don't want to do is get the optimization, that the optimization messes with your design. So a lot of times, if you think too much about optimization, you might not be able to design the way you want. So, for example, when I worked on Last Oasis, I did not think about optimization. I just went in and just painted it the way I want it to look, to make sure I do not sacrifice any design decisions. And then I looked at the scene and I'm like, okay, let me recreate it with the least amount of strokes possible. And the more you do it, the more it becomes muscle memory. And then all of a sudden, you will be able to design without sacrificing the optimization, right? You will be able to optimize without sacrificing design. That's what I wanted to say. So just like you see Danielle's face tutorial, he's extremely efficient, but he's not sacrificing design for it. So it's a good exercise to just practice and get a hang of what each brush does, what each tool does. And I've optimized a lot of my old stuff, and then you go in, and now I go back in and I laugh, because I'm like, holy crap! I thought this is good creation, and it's fine because your GPU can handle it, but then it's not fine for mobile.
Yeah, because I remember recording this guy for Inktober last year with all the snow, and I jumped in there and I'm like, I'm gonna try to film with the Quill recorder, and it chugged so bad. It was rough.
It's like that.
Yeah. What is?
Yeah, I'm sure like a lot of you guys, in like I did it too, where you created like a grass field or leaves on the ground, like tons of them, and then even Quill starts choking, where it's like the UI starts flickering a little bit and stuff, and that is usually because of either crazy amount of overdraws or polygons or draw calls, right? Like I don't know if you guys remember, I did an assembly line piece with like 200 people assembling, like it was like a Chinese assembling factory with like similar to a shot from Samsara, and even my Quill on a Titan XP was like choking, so that's how you can figure out, okay, I have to do something about it,
So
it's also
just talking about.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, just talking about the overdraws again, because one thing that I do is I use a lot of ribbon strokes, but then I use backing behind the ribbon strokes to sort of fill in the color so that there aren't gaps.
Yep.
So is that going to really like burn me because I'm doing that?
No, that's great. I mean,
I don't think that
if
should.
you look at my wolf tamer piece, for example, I created the body with just really big sphere brush strokes first to get the overall proportion and the silhouette. And then I fixed the silhouette with more detailed strokes. And then I add the fur where you see it, right? But I don't add the fur everywhere I need it. And that's the way to go. I mean, it's always good to have filling geometry, so you don't have to create everything with like tons of brush strokes. So it's the right way to do it for sure.
Okay.
You also
Thanks.
can keep in mind where you want the viewer to be. and make those areas high poly. But then like, so for here example, like say I want the viewpoint to be here, I could put more attention to detail in the snow right where your feet are, but like down there, that could stay as is. And if you're looking up there, and if you're only there, this snow doesn't have to be here at all. This snow doesn't have to be here at all. You know, these details can be almost non-existent. But I made it like this because I was like, oh, it's going to be a 2D thing. This is like a snow globe, so I want this to kind of be a little high detail everywhere, high, low, whatever. You know, this kind of painterly-ish, quilly kind of thing. And I even went through and just tried to optimize it now, and I chunked down the geometry quite a bit, but it's still enough to where I'd probably have to do some recreation specifically on these guys and stuff like that, where the pillars are really high, because I think they each have brush strokes that come through and do the same thing I did with the snow, where I like kind of painted them in with it. And I also did not use a flat brush. I used the capped ellipse, so there's more extra geometry that doesn't need to be there. But yeah, kind of, let me pull up the thing Gora was talking about with the grass and the overdraws, because I am guilty of that.
It's fun, you know, like it's fun to do that stuff.
I think this
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
there's all that grass.
Nice.
It could be worse, because I could have had it come out way further than this, but it's still not good. What are we looking at? Yeah, I'm already hitting the geometry for such a pretty simple scene. And the leaves are each individual strokes like that. Don't need to be like that. They could be different.
Yep.
Also, if anyone has any good tree tips, let me know. I've been trying to figure out how to make the perfect optimized tree that looks cool too, and I'm bad
So
at it.
I would do the same what I just said, you know, like make the overall volume first if
Yeah.
you have a full tree, you know, and then just add some strokes to break up the silhouette.
Yeah.
But if you want some gaps in there, you know, it's definitely tricky, you know,
Mhm.
because you have a lot of overdraws naturally.
Yeah, because
So
I think, let me open up my original Father's Day thing. Oh boy, we get to go through my wonderful adventure of this. So let me turn on, do I still have them? I do. So I was working on these kinds of trees out in the distance, and they're pretty simple. Like, these are a little bulkier, but it's pretty much just the sphere brush going like wee, and you know, kind of like that. And then I come in later with like these colors, and I go, okay, all one color. And I kind of add a little bit of color like that, and then paint a little like that, and do that. So it just blends in. But
what I usually do is I use like one line brush, sphere brush line brush stroke, or like either the sphere brush or the one next to it, and then I bend it a little bit with a grab tool, you know.
mhm. So
You create one stroke and then you bend it a little bit, and then I use this as a building block, and you know, you curve it a little bit, make it like convex or something.
oh, like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Oh,
you
I
use
see. So
that
then
as
you, do I have the tree over there
sculpt
still?
the tree.
Yeah.
know,
So
and
you'd
then you
like put it around like that versus squiggle mess.
Exactly, and you can do that with a sphere brush too. Then you have a volumetric brush,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
And then that's a good way to get at least thing. And then when you duplicate that and recolor it and you shift it a little bit, you get those nice intersections that are indicating details. So for far away trees, you can do that, and it works really good.
Mhm. See, it was crazy too, because I figured this would be a lower poly solution to these trees, because I imagined you would be like, you know, here and across the way, like those don't seem that high poly, but like that's like half your geometry limit just right there alone. Wait, wait, did I not optimize these yet? That might be why. Let me
But
log.
you also have also a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah. Let me. Nope. Okay. Yep. Trees are hard. Organic trees are.
I mean, you have a lot, and if you guys seen my mud monster from yesterday, the mud fractal, that one was like pretty big already. That one was like 500,000 polygons.
Yeah.
So, you know, even optimized. So I was at, I think, 2 million or something before that. So high poly. So be careful with duplicating. You know, if you duplicate, because that's like super fun in Quill, it's like super easy to do, but make sure that you don't overdo it, but also keep it clean.
Let's take a look at this one. This one's gonna be bad.
Ooh, this one was nice.
Yeah, so this one, oof, it's not as bad. There's a lot of extra unnecessary lathing. Like these are lathed to hell and back. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I wanted to touch up on
Oh
this.
God.
So you're like, this looks horrible. Get this out of here. I actually love this view because one, it makes it feel like Predator, and I love Predator. Two, it shows you where your bad areas are, especially like when you're
Yeah.
looking at overdraws and stuff like that. Because you know, okay,
Yeah.
well, clearly the biggest areas I have are these booths. The hat has some pretty bad areas because it's also lathed to hell and back. The pie is kind of bad. So I would know which areas I need to tackle. So if I have to remake these, I could do so with one stroke, doing like
Well,
that.
we can follow your previous tutorial.
Yeah, you can
Great.
check out my previous tutorial. Yeah, no, you can, do this. You can, because I think I did it. Did I do the exact same thing here? Is this one stroke? Is it locked? Yeah, it's locked. Yeah, why did I do a one stroke here and then 50 here? I mean, I guess I wanted the little curve, but like these have it built in. Guys,
Made
I have
mistake.
big mistake.
You probably like just made it and then duped it.
Look how lathed this hat is. Holy
Beautiful.
cow. It looks really good, but like this is where all the geometry is right here.
This is how you blew the mobile budget with one hat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's get rid of the hat really quick. Let's see what that does. Booth. Nope, no booths.
I don't think it will just do much unless you animate.
I mean, they were. Oh wait, they're still in there. That's over 1 million right there by themselves. What if I optimize the crap out of the hat? Oh wait. I gotta lock everything. I don't want it. You know what? Forget this. We're gonna merge it. Wait, why is it? No, I duplicated it. What am I doing? Merge. Thank you. What did that bring us to? Whoa! Look at that difference.
You didn't even go max.
Yeah, this is what that is.
Crazy.
Did it again, and it's still
And
okay.
the funny thing is the hat doesn't change because it's so high res.
Yeah, look how little of a difference that makes, and we go from 700,000 polys to 70.
Oh wow.
That's incredible. So, I guess because we're about like 10 minutes over, I want to probably do a final note here with specifically geometry. The hat works really well because there's not a ton of overlapping parts on it. This gun, though, it's not going to turn out pretty. I can almost promise you. Because if I optimize it, you can see a lot of the extra little bits and grime and rust just break. And also, back at the beginning when Goro was saying, if you have one singular little cylindrical or capped ellipse or whatever, they turn into that monster. And I'm
just amazed how you created this weapon. Holy crap.
Oh,
so
this thing was... Yeah, all I did, I went into Overwatch, took screenshots of the gun, which is, it's positioned like this from your view. So I had to like try to flatten it and be like, all right, we're going to try to recreate this sucker. And it was
clean,
tricky.
Though. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Cube brushes too don't exactly like whenever you...
Yeah, this is why you have to be careful optimizing because, you might just do it and then later realize, oh no, my weapon is broken.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a previous saved version, or not saving often, or if you save too often and you go, okay, well now I messed this up and I have too many undos, I can't go back. I either have to redo everything I did since I last saved, or just suck it up and remake it.
Cool. We're at 11 minutes over.
Yeah, 11 minutes over, but yeah, hope you guys learned a little bit about this huge mess of optimization. It's a little scary, a little technical, but it's an easy approach.
Yeah, I think you get used to it, the more you do it, and it's necessary if you want to share to mobile VR, and also make sure to check out the tutorial I made about optimization as well. Mm-hmm. And I think we're gonna continue doing these tech related classes as well. Like we mix it up with creative ones, and then some of them are more technical and stuff, because I think there's still a lot of things that to explore and to understand. And yeah, thanks for running this class today.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler. Really helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop recording now.